Hello, hello, welcome to Mental Monday. The lighting is terrible, as I can see. We're in the middle of a storm right now, so you may hear the odd rumble of thunder, bit of lightning perhaps. I'm gonna put the light on, actually. So sorry about this. Yes, we're in the middle of a storm right now, so you may hear thunder, lightning. Yeah, everything's kicking off as usual. Hi, welcome. If you're joining, a few housekeeping things to start with. Then this is really informal. Just say whatever you want. You don't have to ask questions. I think we only really restrict this to talking unless you've got a question to ask. But you don't need to ask a question. You can talk about like anything you want on here. Ramblings, vents, whatever you want to call it. Everything's welcome. And I will read the comment out because we're live on YouTube, Twitter, everything's kind of everywhere. So anyway, I'm gonna normally talk on for extra minute, let people join, check out all the streams actually working, because I always have problems with my Streamlabs. Always have problems with my Streamlabs. Hi, welcome if you're joining. I see a lot of people are joining on YouTube, not so many on Twitter, but that's okay, more people come and go. The repeat is saved, so if you can't stay for all of it, that's fine, because the repeat's saved, so you can just watch it there. Okay, so today, what I want to talk about is how mental health isn't a one-size-fits-all thing, and I think this is something I'm making it follow in a logical order. So last week we talked about recovery and what you can kind of do self-care wise to help with recovery, and since then I've had a lot of comments from people saying that like what I say doesn't work, and I just wanted to like talk about how mental health isn't a one size fits all. So what works for me won't work for you, and then it's kind of realistic self care for normal people, because some of the examples were like not very practical if you're working and have like a busy life. Like I know I don't have the luxury of doing self care every day because I work, so we've obviously got that to talk about as well. So do get involved. Do let me know you're here if you're on YouTube or Twitter, as it were. A lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people, not that many people on YouTube, but that's okay. That's okay. So mental health isn't a one size fits all. Right. I'm going to say that now. I'm going to crack right into this because I need to get this out. So mental health isn't one size fits all. There we go. And what I mean by this is when we've got self-care, when I was talking about the self-care last week, I was suggesting things like go for a walk, listen to music, being creative, uh, anything that makes you feel better. And then people have taken that as a list of ideas and they have gone and tried it and it hasn't worked for them. They haven't had any benefit from self-care. They haven't like felt anything. They haven't done any, it hasn't worked for them. It hasn't done anything for them, and nothing's really happened to them. They've felt exactly the same way, and that's okay, because mental health isn't a one size fits all. What that means is what I say to do on my self-care list. So this is why I have never ever done a list of what to do for self-care, like 10 things of self-care. I would never do a list like that, because then it encourages you to just tick those boxes off. Excuse me. I hate the mental health blogs and the recovery blogs, and this will probably offend a lot of people, especially my friends who actually do this. But I hate it when people do a list of things for self care. So when people say things like, "Do all these things for self care, and these can help you," well, what that's encouraging is you take the list that's over here and you say, right, this thing didn't work, this thing didn't work, this thing didn't work, and this thing didn't work. So then, like, nothing works for you, and you think you failed, and it makes you feel worse because then you've tried everything on the list, and like, what is the point in trying more things when they'll fail just like everything here? And that's why I hate those kind of posts. So self care is whatever you do to make you feel better, and that's kind of as broad as I leave it. I don't. What works for me is music, writing, obviously, being a writer. I normally have Spotify on. I've just turned it off for this actually. I like going for walks, stuff like that. I do all the basic stuff. I think I'm really basic in my self care. I am basic. Yeah. And what that's like encouraging is I'm not saying that taking a walk will help you. It may not. It's just what works for me. So you can see how diverse the range of things that will actually work for you is. Because then when you find something that works for you, you can keep sticking to it. And if something doesn't work for you, then I'm sure there's like we can go through things. DM me. We'll just see what works for you. See what you like. You kind of should know what you like and don't like. Not in terms of self care, but in terms of normal life. So like you should know that. And it's just about taking that and actually being like, okay, so this works for me. This doesn't work for me that much. What can I do that I like to give me self care? And that's what I mean by it's not a one size fits all. There's no like, go for a walk and you will be healed. Listen to music and you will be cured. It doesn't work like that. It's you've got to personalize it, and it's not just about the self care element. It's all of mental health from when you start recovery until you've reached that kind of end point where you're not fixed, but you've recovered enough to live your life in the way you want to do so. That is the kind of end stage, and between that point, it's not a one size fits all. Someone with, say, you're diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and anorexia, just as an example. Someone who shares that diagnosis with you. So, say you've got a friend that's also got those three. Uh, Say we've got the exact same types of anxiety, exact same type of depression, exact same kind of type of anorexia, which is not the right way of phrasing it, but it will do for now. This is an example. And say you've got those two people, even more, but just two for ease, is you start recovering on the same day. You go through the same therapy, you both take self care, you both have the same medication, you both see the same psychiatrist. But does it work? And the answer would be no. Although you're likely to be similar, it won't be the same level of recovery. So in a week's time, in a month's time, in a year's time, you both will be in different places. And I think that leads on nicely to the second point, which is comparing your journey of recovery. And obviously, we know we're not meant to be normal. I think when you've got mental health, low mental health rather, you accept that you're not going to be normal. The correction there was, I'm going to touch on this slightly. There's been a lot in the media about saying mental health because everyone has a mental health, and therefore by saying mental health as a general thing, it actually isolates the three-quarters of the population who don't have a mental health condition but still have a mental health, because everyone has a mental health, and I just think that's worth just bringing up. So it's low mental health or good mental health or whatever you want to say, but not just mental health, because everyone has a mental health. Just like, say you've got a leg, broken leg, for instance, you wouldn't just say, I've got a leg, because, yeah, most people have legs. Obviously, there's exceptions, but most people have legs. But if you've got a broken leg, then that identifies the problem. So, if you've got low mental health, that identifies that your mental health isn't as good as it should be. It isn't where it needs to be. You've got time to recover that. But that's kind of the point I wanted to mention on that. So, my next point then, after that short little detour, is about comparing your journey of recovery. And this I see done a lot. And I think with low mental health, you accept you're not going to be normal. Like, we know, guys, you would be honest, we're not normal. We're probably the furthest thing from normal. And we just accept that we're weird and we're a bit different and we don't fit in. And we accept that. We're getting better at accepting that. But then within our own community, so within people who have a low mental health, we kind of all recover at different rates. And this is kind of something that has been touched on, but not in the same way as like being normal. Like we've done the whole it's okay to be different kind of thing. And we've done the whole mental health is okay. It's okay not to be okay. Keep talking about mental health. Men, it's okay to cry. We've done all of that. We've done a lot. It's Pride Month, so I'm going to bring in a more accepting society about LGBTQs. Although, if you saw the homophobic attack in London, it kind of makes you question to what extent we actually are as a society. We give this image we are, but then when you break it down on an individual level, how many people that aren't directly linked to the LGBTQ plus, I'm getting the acronym wrong a lot here. It's quite long now. The Wikipedia page officially lists it as LGBTQ. I'm actually going to Google this because I want to make sure I get the right amount of A's. LGB, they list it as LGBT, but then they also list it as, they list it as some really long thing. Maybe they've changed it then because they did list it as LGBTQIA. But for argument's sake, we're going to call it here as LGBTQ plus, and then we'll put the plus, which should encompass everyone else, hopefully. So yeah. Anyway, comparing your journey of recovery. Slightly distracted by that. So yeah. Hold on. I'm a mental health advocate. So I'm a mental health advocate, which means that my DMs are open and you guys can talk to me about your problems and I'll listen to you. I can't change anything. I think we have this wonderful impression that mental health advocates are basically counselors and psychologists who you can just tell all your problems to and they'll all be fixed. And they're not. I'm at 17 years old. I cannot fix what you're going through. I have no psychological background experience apart from suffering mental health problems myself and helping people with them since I was 11. Other than that, I have no experience, no training, and no qualifications in the matter. So if I'm going to fix you, the answer is no. I'm not. However, I can listen, I can talk to you, I can empathize with you, and that works. That can help. It might not help. Hopefully, it will. I'm very adaptive. Um, I think with being a mental health advocate, I've learned to be adaptive. So I don't just say, well, this helped me, so it'll help you too. I kind of listen and then alter my response based on my own experience to what I think is the best thing to say in that situation. And it's not, my aim isn't to fix someone. I don't really like offering direct advice other than tell someone that can advise you. That's normally the advice I give. I normally listen, take on board what's being said to me, give my own story and snippets to where what they're saying links to what I've been through, and just listen really and respond appropriately to what's being said. That's all I do. I'm really just someone to vent to, and that works for some people. It doesn't for others. It depends on your style of recovery. It depends on what works for you, and that is something that obviously is different for different people. So you may like that, you may not like that. It depends. It's different for different people. So that is my mental health advocacy in a nutshell. Should we move on to comparing your journey of recovery then? Yeah, I was taking a quite detour on that because it kind of popped up as a question. So I thought I'd go ahead and answer it for you guys. Aren't I nice? just checking the hashtag, making sure anyone's tweeting, because people sometimes can't watch the video because it doesn't work, or it's low quality, or they're doing other things and still want to get involved and leave their comments, or maybe they have something longer to say they can't put in the chat. It's FMH chat to get involved. So we're at the halfway point now of Mental Monday, and we're at the halfway point of what we are meant to be talking about, because we are talking about comparing your journey of recovery, which we've done. So I just want to finish that off then with, in the mental health community, we always compare ourselves to others. We always think, right, this person's recovering well, and I'm not. I must be failing. I must be doing something wrong. And it's different for different people. We all have those individual differences. We all respond differently. We all think differently. We may think similarly. We may be similar in our response, but it's unlikely that we'll be the same from start to finish of recovery. There may be moments we can share and embrace with other people who are also being helped on that journey of recovery, but for the most part, across all of recovery, we won't be able to kind of talk on that level. We won't be able to be the same as everyone else throughout their entire journey of recovery. And that's okay, because that is what happens. That is recovery. It's different. It's our own journey. And we may walk parts of it with some people and parts of it with others, but it's our journey. And our journey is walked by us. So that is comparing yourself to recovery. I just felt that needed a bit of conclusion because we kind of went off on a bit of a tangent. On a bit of a meander, you may say. The final point I've logged on there is realistic self-care for normal people. Yeah. Sounds like a title of a video in itself, doesn't it? Now, realistic self-care for normal people is something I wanted to touch upon. Because another thing I get people to say is that, like, where am I? Realistic self-care for normal people. Something people say to me is that self-care is this, they can't do self-care. They say they can't, like, actually do self-care. And I wanted to just talk about realistic self-care, because realistic self-care is not this massive kind of spa day and chilling kind of thing. It's just simple things like taking a walk. And that is realistic self-care for normal people. It's not even doing a lot. It's just taking a walk, putting some music on, things like that. And that won't work for everyone. As we kind of started with, it won't work for everyone. But it doesn't have to be a big thing. And I was reading an interesting kind of, there's been a few blogs about this. It's self-care when you don't even, like, want to get up. So, like, if you can't even get out of bed to go to a bath, you can use face wipes. That was something that really stood out to me. And I just think self-care and the level of self-care you do depends on how you're feeling. And unfortunately, that is kind of not how we want it to be. Because what that means is self-care is something that we do when we feel good. We do it when we feel happy. We do it when we feel okay. We do it when we've, like, got a lot of time. We're not feeling stressed. We're feeling happy. We've got that time. We don't have to be productive, and we can just sit down and have some self-care for a couple of hours. That's the time when we really get the most out of self-care. But that's the time when we need it the least. The time we need it the most is the time when we're stressed, when we don't have time to do anything, when we're constantly worrying, when we're constantly stressing, when we're constantly caught up in the hecticness of life, when we're constantly trapped in that negative cycle, when we're constantly in that bad situation where the last thing we want to do is have self-care. Self-care is like, I've self-care. It's one of those things, and that is not where we want it to be. We want self-care to really be needed in that situation, but we just don't feel like it. I know I certainly don't feel like, when I'm feeling really bad, to do self-care. It seems like a task, an addition, another stress that, oh, I need some self-care and I'm not getting it. I've got so much time. And it's just, it doesn't feel Right. To me. And it is backwards. So how can we fix this then? Because I wasn't intending to actually ask this question, but I just wanted to put it out there. How can we make how can we make it work? How can we have self-care in busy times? I'm gonna put this out on the Twitter chat as well. Okay, I'll just put that on the Twitter now. So see if that gets any answers. So how can we? Any ideas in the chat? No one's actually come up with an idea. I put it out to the public, so hopefully you guys will actually comment on that and let me know. Looking forward to see what you guys actually have to say on that. But yeah, I'll obviously do Wacky Wednesday, which is now on Wednesday. Very successful first episode. We will obviously be talking about that there as well. We'll probably do the results then. I don't want to go on too long because Aiden Hatfield is live. I believe Aiden Hatfield is live. He's normally live at 8 PM on a Monday. And I'm starting to lose my voice. Thank you for coming, and I will see you on Wednesday if you're on my Instagram, or I will see you on YouTube tomorrow with my first video comes out. Well, my next video. I try and do a video a day. It doesn't always work out. I do have a lot of things on, especially this week, next week. But hopefully after that things settle down, it will be back to a video a day because that's what it should be. A couple of videos a day, just producing as much content as possible because that's what matters is helping you with your mental health. Alright everyone, thank you for coming and we'll see you next time. DM me if you need, all the usual. Alright then, if you're on YouTube, my Twitter is JakeUsWrites. It's the same as my Instagram. I'm on Snapchat. I'm on everything. I'm on everything. Just search me and you'll find me. Yeah, that wasn't meant to sound romantic. Anyway, thank you for coming. And good night. Good night.